The slow erosion of authority is not just a headline, it's a crisis. Look at these papers, they tell a story of broken trust. The cracks in government authority are widening. We must act trust before it's too late.
Let's talk about noise, not the kind you can mute, not the kind that fades into background static while you make tea. I'm talking about political noise, the kind that starts as a murmur, tight, contained, almost polite, and then spreads through headlines, through interviews, through off record whispers that somehow become on record pressure until one day you realize it's not a murmur anymore, it's a chorus. And right now, that chorus is saying one thing about Keir Starmer: resign. The spark. This didn't come out of nowhere. It rarely does. The trigger is the Mandelson vetting scandal, a situation that sounds bureaucratic on the surface but becomes radioactive the moment you look at it properly. Here's the core. Peter Mandelson was appointed to a major diplomatic role. Security vetting failed. That failure was overridden. Parliament was told everything was fine, and the Prime Minister says he didn't know. That's not a single mistake, that's a chain, and chains don't break in one place. They fail across multiple links. The two doors. At the center of this is a dilemma so clean it almost feels scripted. Two doors, pick one, door one. He knew. If Starmer knew about the failed vetting and allowed the appointment anyway, then the argument is simple. That's not an oversight. That's a conscious decision that bypassed national security advice. And politically, that's explosive. Door two. He didn't know. If he didn't know, then the question becomes, how does a prime minister not know this? How does a high-level appointment with security implications move through the system without reaching the top? That's not corruption, that's loss of control. And in leadership, loss of control is just incompetence wearing a suit. The sacrifice. Enter the fallout. Sir Ollie Robbins, senior civil servant, gone, removed after failing to inform ministers properly. And immediately the word starts circulating, scapegoat, because it feels too clean, too convenient. One person exits, the system exhales, the narrative tries to reset. But here's the problem. The questions didn't leave with him, they stayed. Who overruled the vetting? Why was that override even possible? Why wasn't it escalated? And why did Parliament get told everything was fine? You can't answer structural questions with a personnel change. That's like fixing a cracked foundation by repainting the walls.
Resignation calls don't grow because of one mistake. They grow when a mistake refuses to settle.
Why the cores are growing. Resignation cores don't grow because of one mistake. They grow when a mistake refuses to settle, when it keeps generating new questions instead of closing old ones. And that's exactly what's happening here. Every time the government responds, another gap appears, another inconsistency, another angle that doesn't quite line up. And the opposition, they don't need to prove guilt, they just need to sustain doubt. Because doubt is slower than outrage, but far more durable. The credibility collapse. Let's be precise. This isn't just about policy, this is about credibility. Starmer's entire political identity was built on contrast, competence over chaos, seriousness over spectacle, integrity over spin. So when a scandal hits that revolves around miscommunication, possible misinformation, system failure, it doesn't just damage his record, it damages his brand. And in modern politics, your brand is your armor. Once that cracks, everything hits harder. The defense strategy. Watch how the government is responding. It follows a pattern, a firm character. He's a man of integrity. Isolate the failure. A civil servant didn't escalate properly. Reframe the narrative. He would have acted if he'd known. It's clean, it's structured, it's incomplete. because it doesn't answer the core issue. Why didn't he know?
Why didn't Keir Starmer know about the security vetting failure?
The government versus person. This is where things get interesting because the government wants to frame this as a process failure, a breakdown in communication, a system glitch, but critics are framing it as a leadership failure. And those are not the same thing. A process failure can be fixed. A leadership failure has consequences. The political energy shift, you can feel it in interviews, in commentary, in the way questions are being asked. The tone has changed. It's no longer what happened. It's can he survive this? That's a different phase. That's when politics stops being about explanation and starts being about viability. The opposition playbook. The opposition doesn't need to rush. In fact, rushing would be a mistake. Instead, they apply pressure gradually, raise questions, highlight inconsistencies, repeat key doubts.
Take your time, Keir. No rush on my end.
Just one more inquiry.
Keep digging. I'm enjoying the show.
Almost there, just a bit deeper.
Let the narrative grow, because the goal isn't immediate resignation. The goal is erosion, slow, persistent, relentless, until staying becomes harder than leaving. Public perception, the real battlefield. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people won't read the full details. They won't track every statement. They won't map every contradiction. They'll do something much simpler. They'll feel it out. And what they're feeling right now is something's off, not necessarily catastrophic, not necessarily unforgivable, but off. And in politics, off is dangerous because it creates hesitation, and hesitation spreads. Control is everything. Let's strip this to its core. Leadership is not just about making decisions, it's about knowing what decisions are being made. Because if decisions happen without your knowledge, without your oversight, without your awareness, then you're not leading, you're reacting. And reactive leadership always looks weaker than it is.
Reactive leadership is weak, just like Keir Starmer.
The trust loop breaks. Trust works in a loop. Government says something, public believes it, reality confirms it. But here, the loop fractured. The government said everything was fine, reality said it wasn't. Now the defense is, we didn't know. That might be true, but politically, it doesn't repair the loop. It just explains why it broke, why this won't go away quickly. This story has staying power because it sits at the intersection of national security, government transparency, leadership competence. That's a powerful mix. It's not niche, it's not technical, it's fundamental. And fundamental issues don't disappear with one press conference. The deeper problem. This isn't just about Starmer, it's about how the system works. Because what this reveals is a structure where decisions can be overridden, information can store, accountability can shift, and that raises a bigger question. Who is actually in control? Let's land this clean. Calls for resignation are growing, not because the system collapsed, not because the country is in chaos, but because something essential has been shaken. Confidence. Confidence that the right information reaches the top, the right decisions are being made, the system is functioning as intended.
Starmer? He's all talk, no action. Spot on. The rich get richer while we're left behind. He's forgotten about us. No confidence in him at all. Exactly. He's lost the plot.
And once confidence starts to slip, it's very hard to get it back. There's a quiet moment in every political crisis, a moment where everything hangs in the balance, not because of one speech, not because of one decision, but because of a feeling, a shift, subtle, almost invisible. The moment when people stop asking what happened and start asking, is this still working? That's where we are now. Because this isn't just about a failed vetting process, It's about whether the machinery of government is doing what it's supposed to do, whether information flows the way it should, whether decisions are made with full awareness, whether the person at the top is actually seeing the full picture. And if the answer to those questions is unclear, then everything else becomes unstable, because leadership, at its core, is not about perfection. It's about visibility, the ability to see, understand, and act before problems become crises. And right now, that visibility is in question. So the calls for resignation, they're not just about punishment. They're about confidence, about whether the system can still function with the same person at the center of it. Because once doubt takes hold, it doesn't need to shout, it just needs to stay. And if it stays long enough, it changes everything, quietly, irreversibly, until one day the noise you thought you could ignore becomes impossible to silence.